Satnam Aloha. This is Michael Neutrino from Shadow Astrology, and today I want to talk about the collapse of the hierarchy. And this is what we're seeing out in the world today. So remember that we're entering the great age of Aquarius. Humanity is evolving. This is the great shift of the ages that the ancients told us about, and this is the age of equality. It's the age of truth. It's the age of friendship. So any of our structures, right, that have not been seated in truth, this is our institutions, not seated in equality and fairness, not seated in love, are collapsing because they're not true. So the world is not ending. The new world is being born. So we're seeing the birth pains out there. So this shadow pattern that's connected to hierarchy, right, the collective shadow pattern here, is called domination. So collectively, we went through this shadow pattern last week. So that's probably why you started speaking up to the bullies in your life, right? You can't hold back that energy anymore because it wants to be expressed through you, right? This Aquarian age consciousness. So let's break it down. Hierarchy describes how we organize ourselves as a humanity. Hierarchy describes how we organize ourselves as a humanity. It's the social ladder. And hierarchies can be found everywhere, even in religions, right? You've got your pope, you got your bishop, your cardinal, your priests, your nuns, right? You even see these hierarchies in spiritual communities, or not. Maybe it's not so blatant. Right, the person closest to the teacher is placed up the ladder, or the one who's most loyal is up the ladder. You see this in academia, the people with a gazillion letters behind their name, right? It makes people important, right? They're an important person. They got a bunch of letters behind their name. So the shadow of domination ensures that there's always someone higher that dominates you, has authority over you, who knows better than you, and there's always someone lower than you who you can dominate, right, if you play this game. So you'll notice this, when you meet a new person. What do they typically ask, right? What do you do for a living? How old are you? Where are you from? Right? Benign questions? No. What's the secret agenda here? Why do people ask these questions? So they know where you fit in the hierarchy. Are you lower than me, or are you higher than me on the social ladder? And then they adjust their behavior accordingly, and they adjust their perception of you. So the ego, the shadow, how the ego and shadow work when they meet a new person, it's either one of two things. You're either a threat to me, you're a competitor, or you're someone that I can use to climb up the ladder. Right? This is how the ego and shadow work. And we're conditioned to climb up that ladder. So this kind of behavior keeps us in toxic hierarchy. So I'm going to go more into depth here. So what are some of the qualities of the shadow of domination of these hierarchies? Well, there's always a fear, right? With every shadow pattern. And the fear is that there's not enough for everyone. This is poverty consciousness, and this is all a lie. Remember, shadow patterns are rooted in lies, and that's what's being transmuted into the light, these ancestral shadow patterns for the Aquarian age. So this shadow makes you believe that your security is found within this hierarchy. So you're either a bootlicker, that means you give your power over to authority, or you're obsessed with climbing the social ladder and dominating others. It's about power, right? So I'm not saying that you're like this. I'm not accusing anybody of anything. All I'm doing is to be aware of the shadow. We have to be detached from our shadow. It's not who we are. And yet there's a gift in every shadow. So another quality is division, right? We're all put into our little boxes, right? Well, the boxes are race, class, gender, education, religion, culture. And if we stray from our little box, right, domination ensues. And we can see this with the race protests in the USA and around the world now. And spiritually, this new consciousness is communicating Listen, this hierarchy doesn't work for us anymore, right? It's not based in fairness. It's not based in love. And we're tired of it, right? We want equality. So what is that met with? Domination. That's the old consciousness, right? This Piscean age consciousness, this shadow consciousness, which is like, get back in line, know your place, right? So dominated to get back in line. Another quality is inequality, right? Superiority or inferiority, no in between. So this is, I'm better than you or I'm worse than you, right? Your voice is more important than my own inner voice, or my voice is more important than your voice. So hierarchies are based on inequality. And this, we know, right? The system is rigged for a select few who climb their way to the top. So the other quality here is a lack of empathy. And they've done studies. The more money and power someone accumulates, the less empathetic they become, right? They become less empathetic. So why? Because shadow means that you're cut off from your heart. You're in animal mode. If you're not in your heart as a human, then you're an animal, right? My territory, my money, me, and screw everyone else, right? When you're at the top of the ladder, it's like they're lazy. They made bad choices in life. And that's the shadow of domination talking. All more lies, more deception. The other quality is, with domination is you become a taker. We're conditioned to become takers. And we don't realize that our natural state as a human being is to give. We're givers. That's what a human being is a giver. Because when you're connected to your heart just wants to give. So the hierarchy makes us into takers, right? Getting away with something, right? That's the shadow. And we're given gifts from the divine. Each one of us is given a gift, and the also called talent. That's an ancient word for currency, and money was talent because it really comes from inside of us. So we're given gifts from the divine. We're given resources. We're given money from the divine. It's the ego and the shadow. It's like, I hustled and I hassled and I made it happen. It's all me. Right? And we're not given these things, right? We're not given these things just for ourselves. We're given them so that we can share. And so it's not about hoarding and keeping it all to ourselves and our family, right? Which is an extension of our ego. We're given to so that we may give to others. We're given to so that we may give to others. So this also means inner resources, right? For you spiritual teachers and healers and coaches out there. So you want to be a giver to move out of this shadow pattern of domination, not a taker. So the other quality is competition, right? We just think this is normal. This stuff is normal, and it's not, right? It's this world that we live in. It's upside down. So we've been conditioned to compete with one another. Right? It starts in school with the grades and the bell curves and the sporting events dividing us up into winners and losers. More and more division. So competition is rooted in a consciousness of lack. Right? It's part of this money channel that I talked about. And this channel is about the distribution of resources and wealth. And the two shadow patterns here that match up are control and domination. These are the shadows. So competition makes us compare ourselves to others. And with that comes envy and jealousy, all the lower frequency energy that keep us away from our power. Winning at all costs, right? And this is the illusion. Why it has no power? Because it's rooted into the illusion that we are not all equal. Yes, we're all different, but we're all the same. Right? We're all equal. We're just playing different roles. So, and also the illusion that there's not enough for everybody, right? There's not enough resources for everyone. So what comes out of domination? Like what's the product of domination? Poverty, hunger, war, disease, just to name a few. We live in an upside down world. And for the Aquarian age, it's coming right side up. So in terms of hierarchy, right, in terms of who has access to the resources in the world, who are they? Who's at the bottom? Women of color, single moms, people in less developed countries who've been dominated and exploited by the ones at the top of the hierarchy, teachers, children. And children, I mean, I just read a statistic the other day, the International Tribunal for Natural Justice, 8 million children go missing each year worldwide. That's a lot of children that just go missing. So child trafficking is said to be a multi-billion-dollar industry, serving those at the top, right, of the hierarchy. So this is the next huge collective shadow that we're going to see lifting, because I feel like the information is out there now, and it's preparing people for this, right, so that they can see it and take it in. This is the next big reveal. So do you see how insane our world is? I'm sure you already know this, right? It's insane. So we dominate the most vulnerable among us, and at the same time, we protect the most powerful among us. Right? Our laws are only to serve, right? Serve the ones at the top of the hierarchy. There's no real justice, human justice, but there is divine justice. And we don't protect what is truly shaping our future, right? Children, mothers, teachers. Those are the three, right? That's our future. And we're too self-centered as a species to look beyond even our own lifetime. And I said this before and in other videos, right? That will recognize true leaders when they make their decisions with how it will affect the next 7 generations, right? The indigenous people talk about this. How will these decisions affect other people? The planet, right? How it's going to affect the planet. How will it affect the ecosystem and all the sentient beings? Not about how it's going to affect, the life of luxury for my shareholders, right? It's mature. It's mature. So it's a recognition that we're all one, we're all connected, right? Everything, every action we take, every thought we have, every emotion we have that we send out affects everyone because we're all connected. So when you see this shadow of domination, when you really let it in, you're going to see it everywhere. It's so rooted in our society. So if you don't know me, I need to tell you that I see things from a spiritual perspective. So this means that I don't get caught up in dualistic thinking, right? So none of this, I'm a Democrat, you're a Republican, Labor, conservative, us and them BS. I don't do that, right? I don't take sides. So for the Aquarian age, we're merging the light in the dark. So we have to look at the shadow. We have to look at the shadow in order to integrate it into the light. So seeing the shadow outside, but it's really coming from inside the collective consciousness of humanity, and it's coming from our ancestors. So we have to look at the shadow within ourselves. So presently, right, so you can make sense of this, is we have dark forces, right? No names. I'm not associating any names. This is impersonal. We have dark forces that are bent on a pathway towards destruction. And then we have the light forces that are on a pathway towards creation, right? Creating something that we've never seen on the planet before. So we have these two forces within us, right? So we're always making a choice. Am I choosing the dark forces that are taking me into separation, further separation, or am I choosing the light forces that are taking me towards unity? So how do these dark forces, how did they kind of take over, right, on the earth realm anyway? How do the dark forces control us? How do they dominate us? And how do they keep us in this hierarchy? Well, just to run right to the source here, is that you need to understand that we live on a planet of traumatized adults. We live on a planet of traumatized adults. So in truth, we haven't really grown up. Our inner child has not been allowed to develop properly because our environment has been so toxic. Not just physical environment, emotional environment, spiritual environment, mental environment. So it really goes back to the first 7 years of our life. That's pivotal. And so all these patterns get laid down, these negative patterns get laid down between 0 and 7. And our conditioning really starts there, right? Our school system, we're in school at 5, right? Our religion, our culture, we're conditioned not to question authority. We're conditioned to obey. And so the ones that obey and follow the rules, those are the ones that are rewarded. You know, I was watching a video the other day on child predators. The pedophile's not a good name for them because it means child lover, and there's no love here. It's all abuse of power. So they're child predators. That's who they are. And one of them said, it was very honest, right? They said that they target the children who follow the rules. They target the children who obey because they're the easiest to abuse, right? They're not taught to trust themselves. They're not taught to listen to their intuition, right? They're just taught to obey authority. So hear me out on this. Hear me out on this. Don't log out yet. So you need to remember the pathway of awareness. It's called the pathway of awareness. So what's this, the pathway of awareness? It's how we develop as humans. So our pathway can be divided into stages in our lifespan, right? Those first 21 years. Because we're multidimensional beings. We have bodies beyond just our physical body. We're more than just this physical body. So to simplify, make it really simple for you, from 14 to 21, that's the development of our physical body. 8 to 14, that's the development of the mental body, that's the mind. And then 0 to 7, that's the development of our emotional body. And so our emotions, right? So that's why children don't remember if they've been abused or not until much later in life. If at all, right? Because there's no rational mind, right? The mind hasn't kicked in yet, right? The physical hasn't kicked in yet. So these memories are stored within the emotional body, right? So that's the depression and the anxiety, right? The low self-esteem, the guilt, the shame, all of that. Those are all signals that you went through a traumatic event as a child. So this trauma gets trapped in the emotional body and it gets stuck. So you need to remember how sensitive we were as children. And look how small children are, right? And all it takes is a one cruel act, which is anything not rooted in love, that will be traumatic to the child. So the dark forces, okay, so that person grows up. That little inner child never gets a chance to grow up, right? That little inner child still lives in the adult body. So the dark forces can manipulate, right? Many humans through our unhealed emotional body because most of us are been traumatized as children. It's systematic. So you see this with our media, right? The media they're masters at this. They show images. Watch this, images. And it's all about producing an emotional response, right? Our movies, our television shows, all of that. It's about producing an emotional response, right? And the emotional response are fear, sadness, or anger. And that's what the dark forces feed on. This is what keeps them alive and thriving, is this energy, right? Of fear, sadness, or anger. So it's interesting too, if you see this, the Schumann resonance. I talked about the Schumann resonance before. That's the heartbeat of the earth. Can be measured, the heartbeat of the earth. And look at this. Look at that. They measured the chart on May 26th, right? There was a spike. What was going on then? Well, it was the murder of George Floyd, right? That got dispersed all over the world. So I'm not saying like some people are, oh, it's a false flag and it was manipulation by the dark forces. It doesn't matter if it happened or not. It affected us. And there's proof that we're connected to the earth and the earth is connected to us. So the manipulation, this manipulation of our emotions, because we have unhealed childhood trauma, this creates hierarchy and dominance, right? So our emotions have an impact on this earth, right? Anger, fear, sadness create division. They create division, and these negative forces feed on it. So the more unconscious you are about what emotions you're sending out, the more powerful these dark forces become, right? So the way to starve them is not to feed them these unconscious emotions and do your healing work, right? You'll starve them. So imagine what love would do, right? In every situation that you're in. The feeling of love, joy, and happiness, that's our true state, right? That's our true state. If we didn't go through this systemic child abuse, right? From our toxic institutions. When we're clogged up with this unintegrated emotional trauma, we're clogged up with this. You don't need proof. The only proof you need is like, oh, I feel really afraid right now, right? I feel really anxious. I can't sleep. I'm filled with shame. I hate myself, right? I feel guilty. I feel angry. I feel like I just want to kill somebody, right? I want to kill myself. That's all the proof you need that something happened in those first 7 years. So we're unclogging. We have to unclog our emotional body, right? We've got to deal with these unintegrated emotional blocks. So this is the true healing that we need right now. We need to rescue our own inner child. And when we do this, we're going to see this reflected out in the external world. We're going to see more and more of these children, these millions of children that disappear every year. We're going to see more and more of them rescued, right? And we need to start praying for these children too. So you know what? If I were to die tomorrow and could leave anything behind to help humanity, it would be my inner child program, right? I've been at this since, oh my God, I've been doing inner child work since over 20 years now, over 25 years probably. So I finally got it up. It's on my website and it's super, super affordable. It's like the lowest of the low because I want people doing this work, right? We got work to do. We have to create the Aquarian age, right? We can't do it with holding on to this emotional baggage, right? We have to let that go. Travel light, be the light. And so also remember that we're evolving through the emotional body. Our evolution is taking place through the emotional body. And the emotional body is directly connected to the child self, 0 to 7. That's the connection. So go sign up today and let's get busy. Let's do our work. So you can find the link below. And when your inner child is healed, you can't be manipulated anymore. You can't be emotionally manipulated anymore. You can't be controlled because you can see the truth. You see the tricks. You see the smoke and mirrors, right? And then you can help others to heal their inner child. So to think for yourself and to be your authentic self is dangerous. Right? It's only dangerous to the status quo. It's only dangerous to the dark forces. So let's talk about the gift here, right? So the gift is the hierarchy is collapsing. It's a done deal. It's not going to live because it's not true, right? This is the future. What's the future? Well, the gift here is synergy. And so this is how we organize ourselves for the Aquarian age. And so synergy, right? The quality of synergy is no longer rooted in fear. It's no longer rooted in competition and comparison. Synergy is rooted in love. And synergy is when you're bringing seemingly opposite things together. Oh, it doesn't make sense to bring those together. That's synergy. And what comes out of that is much greater than the individual parts. So this is the real threat right here. This is the real threat to the dark forces, is when we come together in service to a higher purpose. It doesn't matter what our gender is, and our class background, and our education, and our race, and our religion, and all that other superficial stuff. We come together, right, in service to a higher purpose. So we're no longer playing that game of domination when you bring in this quality of synergy. So it's really a deep trust in the group consciousness and the undercurrent of energy that's orchestrating us all, bringing us together, right? Bringing people to you in your life for some mysterious purpose. So this is collaboration. It's cooperation. It's the honoring of each person and what they bring to the table. It's creative. It's equality. It's unity, right? We're merging together as one. Doesn't mean we're homogeneous blob, right? But we're merging together as one, and at the same time, keeping our own uniqueness. Each one of us is unique. So a synergy is the support of one another, right? It's easier when we help each other out, right? So when you support a teacher or a healer or a coach, let's say, rooted in this Aquarian age consciousness, you're not only supporting that person, but you're also supporting all the other people that you can't see that the healer, teacher, coach is supporting, right? So it's like you're supporting organic farmers because that person supports organic food, green organic food. That person supports sustainability. That person supports local businesses that are doing good work, right? So you're not just supporting that person. And where the money goes, that's where your energy goes. That's the real prosperity. So where you give your money, right, that is true prosperity. So instead of a hierarchy, right, a hierarchy is vertical, totally vertical, one right on top of the other. We have a network of light that spreads far and wide with this new way of organizing ourselves. So watch where you give your money, and it's going to give you lots of information about what you value. Just do a quick little boo, like go through your credit card statement, your bank statement, and you'll see what you value, right? And often it's a shock when we sit down and look at it. So we need to step away from the hierarchy. We need to step away from the social ladder because it's collapsing. It's falling. We have to start embracing this new way of being, right? So trust, right? Trust that this is the new way and it's rooted in truth. So we're learning to claim our own power back during this time. We're taking our own power back that we lost in childhood, right? So we're reclaiming our power, and then we're learning to share power with other people. So this is a window of opportunity for us all to regroup, regather, reflect, all the rewords, where we want to go from here in our life and start walking the talk, right? Be the embodiment of truth. So I just want to talk a little bit about my personal process if you care to listen. So I've completed my 3 top programs that I want to do: prosperity, soul purpose activation, and inner child. Those are the 3 main ones that I feel the best about. So those programs are completed. And then in terms of working one-on-one with people, I want to work one-on-one with people that are actually going through a program. So there's a strong focus on healing, right? And then all the teachings, all the exercises are there. And then I can have a greater impact on that to help that person come back into their power. So I'm the opposite, just so you know about me. I'm the opposite of most teachers and therapists and coach, right? I'm speaking generally here. I'm not assuming you're one of these people. I want to empower you so that I can get rid of you as fast as I can. That's what I want. I want to empower you so I can get rid of you. So so that you are connected to your own inner authority and not dependent on anyone for your answers, not even me, right? You can go within yourself to find those answers. I'll have your chart, right? Your human design chart, your astrology chart, so I can help you keep headed toward your North Star so that you can be you, right? And you can do what you came to do in this lifetime. So the other thing is I want to do more webinars, these 6-hour plus webinars to build up my library for people to access, right? So I've got my 2027 webinar, my rebirthing, my projectors on purpose, and then the 6 primal wounds. So the next one is the future of human relationships. That's the next webinar series I want to do. So that's Aquarian relationships. So that's going to be sometime in July. So if you're on my newsletter list, you'll be notified of that. And then personally, I really want to spend more time and energy creating messages like these, the ones, the fall of the empire from a spiritual perspective, and then the collapse of the hierarchy. I want to explore current events from a spiritual perspective. So for me to do this properly, it takes time. I have to devote time. I have to devote energy, and this means support. So my prosperity line, if you know this, is first line is simplicity. So that means my relationship to prosperity is about being free to create new things. So because of this, I lead a simple life, and I need money, right? I need support money in order to do this, right? So that's what the money's for, just to help me support to do this. And it's so true of me based on my chart. And there's also recognition, celebration, charity, power, and nature. That's all in my prosperity program, because each person has their own unique relationship to prosperity. So what I have now is I brought back the Superpod community. It's a membership, but it's about selfless giving. So it's about expecting nothing in return other than to support me, to support you with my offerings, right? With the messages is one of my offerings, free messages. So do you see the flip, right? I'm asking for you to support me so that I can support you. That's the Aquarian age consciousness, right? So as you give in this way, you'll have the experience to receive something collectively, because it will be clean. There'll be no tit for tat, right? This is the old way. So check that out in the link below. And there's also like a private, when you're part of Superpod, there's a private place where you can communicate with other people that are part of the Superpod community. And not saying that I won't be giving things away, but it won't be like I'm obligated to. It will just be coming from my heart, like these messages come from my heart. So check out the links below, and you can follow me on Instagram, Facebook, where I post daily, or better yet, join the Superpod. So the Superpod is low as $2.99 a month, all the way up to whatever you want to pay, right? It's up to you. So have a great day, evening, wherever you are in the world, and keep being you and have faith, right? There's so much energy that's moving behind the scenes and also in the ethers, right? In the invisible world that we can't see. A very exciting time. So stay positive, keep your vibration up. Okay, Satnam Aloha.